Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, World Alternative Media here, and the writing is on the wall. We know what is planned for us next just by looking at what they are doing elsewhere. They've long created litmus tests for the global technocracy that they're building to enslave us, what they call the Great Reset. If we look at what they're doing in Palestine, it really tells us where they're going next with Americans and Canadians and Europeans, British. The Cradle.co says over 60 Palestinian children died of starvation in Gaza due to Israeli blockade. Absolute pure evil. But all the while, they are deploying AI facial recognition to determine who should be allowed food in Palestine. And they are using these children as bait to then kill them, getting them hungry, forcing them into starvation, telling them, come over here, we'll give you food, and then either imprisoning, killing, denying food, or if you're one of those lucky people that has a good social credit score, according to the AI that Palunteer has created, you will get food. This is something that we are going to see in the United States as well, as 1 in 3 Americans are cutting insurance costs just to afford food. Not that the insurance will even pay you out anyway in an emergency. And UK governments are about to announce supermarkets will police what is in your shopping cart and limit purchases of unhealthy food, something that we've been talking about for a while as Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson wants to open city-owned grocery stores so the government owns the food, whatever supply is left. And New York City is unleashing food police to limit residents' consumption in the name of climate justice, which, by the way, at the same time, they're also rolling out pre-crime surveillance over there. Amazon has been buying up massive amounts of industrial land while also bringing in robots to outnumber humans at their warehouses. This is a very serious thing we're witnessing right now. Elon Musk will start publishing community notes written by artificial intelligence. Peter Thiel says AI is the only thing keeping the world from total stagnation. What they're doing is saying, oh, look at all these problems we're creating. We'll come in as a solution. As Palantir founder and CEO Alex Karp says, he would like drones to spray fentanyl-laced urine on people that oppose him. Crazy world we're living in right now. We're going to go into this and, of course, the latest on what's going on with Israel, Palestine, and, of course, Iran. But before we get into it, I urge people to check those links below and fight back against this surveillance system, fight back against this coming rations-based system. Go to heavensharvest.com and you'll find long-term storable food there that's non-GMO. There's organic kits, heirloom seeds, water filtration and storage, and books on how to get started. Use code WAM, W-A-M, and you will get 5% off as well as free shipping on these items. This is a no-brainer, my friends. This is a way to survive what they are building. And they're building it against you. What we see with AI facial recognition in Palestine for food aid, you will see in a place near you soon. If you're dependent on grocery stores, you are dramatically at risk of what's to come, no matter how intelligent and awake you are. Also, check out whambeef.com for 10 plus year shelf life freeze dried steak. There's also freeze dried chicken and ground beef, 12 servings per bag. I highly recommend people stock up on this. There you could use code WAMBEEF, WAMBEEF, all one word, and you will get 20% off on your order. So I highly recommend people do this now. Guaranteed no mRNA jabs, no lab grown meat, all American beef that's 100% natural. I think that this is another way to get around eating the bugs and drinking the sewage, as Klaus Schwab would say. This is your opportunity to make sure that you are prepared and your family is prepared. So that's all I want to do. I just want to get those solutions out there to you guys. So again, heavensharvest.com, code WHAM, whambeef.com, code WHAMBEEF, all one word. And of course, make sure to follow and subscribe to us on Rumble and BitChute while you still can. Because of course we're going to be deleted from many of the other platforms very soon. Hit the like button, all that too. Anyway, the Cradle.co says over 60 Palestinian children died of starvation in Gaza due to Israeli blockade. UN officials describe Gaza as the hungriest place on earth, as the small amount of aid that enters the strip is distributed in death traps where Israeli soldiers turn food lines into mass graves. and just horrifying images. I'm not going to go over all the images today. I know we've all had enough of it. We're exhausted by it. We've been desensitized by it. We're being smacked in the face and normalized to it. So I don't want to just, be hitting people in the face with these images. But I think it's important to understand the depth of which we are sinking to as a human race when we're dealing with what Israel is doing in Palestine. I mean, they're finding that oxycodone is being laced into the flour sacks entering Gaza. They're killing people by poisoning them. They are also using AI facial recognition to determine who gets food. As Israel, according to the New York Times here. But of course, look, I'm not depending on mainstream media for my source here. This is well known, and they barely go into it in their own article. You could look at The Guardian, but you could also look at Natural News and a lot of the expose and others who've gone into this. But Israel deploys expansive facial recognition program in Gaza. The experimental effort, which has not been disclosed, is being used to conduct mass surveillance of Palestinians in Gaza, according to military officials and others. They are prepping the system, my friends. They are creating that litmus test that they've used so many of the past conflicts that they've created in the first place to do. So you have these people starving. Gaza's government media office announced on 28th June that at least 66 children have died from starvation since Israel's siege of Gaza began, blaming the death on Tel Aviv's blockade, crossing closures, and the ban on baby formula. They also have been attacking aid vehicles. We know that there was a while ago that Israel came out and said, we were attacked, so we shot these Hamas soldiers that came after us. And then there's no bodies. And then there was an investigation. And then they found a mass grave. And it turned out that one of the people in the mass grave had a cell phone on them that videotaped their last moments. And in the video, they showed that they had glow vests on. They were in ambulances with flashing lights. And it says aid on the side of them. And they were bringing in food and medical gear, and they were ambushed by the Israeli government, the IDF, who massacred them on video. And as they were running away and saying, we're aid workers, and they got slaughtered. And then they were put in a mass grave. And then the Israeli government lied and said that they were Hamas soldiers that were shooting at them. So imagine how many other examples we have of them lying about why they kill people, exactly why they built the tunnels in Gaza in the first place, the Israeli government, and why they armed and funded Hamas. But that's a whole other thing. What we know is that we have these aid workers trying to get in. They get massacred. We have that Christian foundation that went in there, and a bunch of Americans got killed. But of course, in that case, it's not an international incident because, the U.S. government bows to Israel and does whatever they tell them to do. So, of course, they get away with literal murder and starving children. I mean, the evil of this is just unbelievable. And people still try to defend what Israel does, even if there was some world, which there isn't, where Israel was innocent in any way of any of this and it was justified in any way. They would know not to target civilian populations. And they say, oh, well, Hamas is hiding behind civilians. Well, then you see what happened with Iran. And they're shooting missiles out of apartment buildings in the middle of Tel Aviv as their so-called Iron Dome. So if anyone's hiding behind, like they are literally putting their missiles in the middle of downtown Tel Aviv to shoot out of the ground. If that isn't, hiding behind civilians, I don't know what is, but they benefit when civilians are killed because then they could say, oh, we have justification. Oy vey. Anyway, I want to get further into this because this really does map out, and we're going to get into Israel more after, but this really does map out where they're going with this AI technocratic governance system that they're building around us everywhere as they destroy the supply chain, as they destroy the grid, as they talk about cyber attacks from Iran, which is going to be a false flag, all that kind of stuff. Israel deploys expansive facial recognition program in Gaza. The idea is that they will determine who deserves food based on facial recognition. And of course, this is at the same time as they have Palunteer hired to have AI drones that indiscriminately bomb kids. So we have Skynet really working here as they get, children to line up so that they could then kill them, according to the UN. And this is happening as we see a massive, strike on the food supply in the United States. When Trump says there's no inflation, yes, there is. We could see that at the grocery store. some things have gone down, but the things that matter most, the things that we need the most, have gone up. So when they balance out the inflation and try to claim like, oh, well, it's going down, they're including televisions and they're including computers and these technologies that you don't necessarily need. They are not counting Campbell's soup. They are not counting, these canned goods, which are going up in price. So overall, we're seeing the things that we need the most going up in price. Not that we need poisonous Campbell's soup. What I'm saying is that you get the idea. The things that are cheapest for families that are in need the most are going up in price, while the things that you don't need are going down. So they count that in to the rate, and I don't think it's honest. But 1 in 3 Americans are cutting insurance costs just to afford food across the country. Americans are being forced to rethink major financial decisions in the face of rising costs, high interest rates, and ongoing economic uncertainty, according to Guardian Service. In a recent survey of 1,000 people, 35% said they've delayed or canceled a big purchase this year, most commonly a home, 22%, or a car, 8%. Millennials, 40%, and Gen Z, 32%, were especially likely to put plans on hold. The leading causes: widespread anxiety about the economy, 63%, high interest rates, 57%, and unaffordable prices, 55%. You always hear from, especially the boomer generation, not attacking all boomers here, but this idea like, hey, when I was a kid, I went and worked hard on this construction job, and I bought a house and I raised a family. That's not possible nowadays. Like, it's not. I mean, yeah, people are weaker and less people are working, and that is part of the plan as they bring in AI jobs to replace people. But it's also the fact that the purchasing power is ridiculously different. You can't on one income afford a house now. I mean, it's ridiculous unless you are investing big and making a huge amount of money. Just because you made, $2 an hour or $1.50 an hour all those decades ago, and we're able to buy a house. The house was, say, $40,000, $50,000, maybe as much as $100,000. Then you look at today and you match up the rates. It's not possible, especially with the food prices being so dramatically high. The fuel prices, yeah, I know, 1976, everyone reminds me of that, are extremely high. They created this problem so that it would weaken these next generations so that they can't do the things that their parents did. And the biggest spenders into the economy are boomers. And as the boomer generation dies off, or ends up in hospice care and things like that as they get older, the people that are funding it the most are the people that literally can't get a job and are on welfare. I mean, it's absurd. The dependence, the shortfall on pensions is unbelievable. But that's part of the agenda to create this scarcity of work and independence, to create this dependence network as a solution, quote unquote, which of course it isn't. It's meant as a way to control people further. So we are seeing this happening, as what we're seeing in Israel, really, in Palestine, really shows where they're heading with this. The litmus tests they're creating to have complete control. And we're seeing that get put into place across the board. The UK government to announce supermarkets will police what's in your shopping trolley and limit purchases of unhealthy food, whatever they declare unhealthy, yet considering, 2020 to 2023, what they consider healthy and unhealthy. It's called an oxymoron. The UK government has introduced a new policy requiring supermarkets to reduce the calorie content of average shopping baskets by 100 calories as part of a broader 10-year strategy to combat obesity. Well, it's interesting because it says by 2029, very important date, because that's a year that the UK is supposed to go full net zero for the year 2050, which means a ban on meat and a ban on travel. The government plans to introduce mandatory reporting by supermarkets on the government's health targets. Is it just a coincidence that the 2019 Absolute Zero report stated that by 2029, human consumption of beef and lamb will be decreased by 50%? Well, actually, with the new laws, they said they wanted a completely banned, or it would be lab grown. Now, I want to point out also that they're bringing their digital ID this year. So is the European Union. So is the United States through corporations like X Money and Episode 6, which just is working together with Elon Musk's X Money, as they pass a stable act in the Genius Act to bring in KYC surveillance over cryptocurrency, over stable coins, which will then be going through the banks, which they've just announced. In fact, I think I have an article here. Yeah, Circle applies for U.S. Trust Bank Charter to manage its USDC reserves. What we are seeing is the shift completely into the control of the money supply as well, with the European Union, the ECB, the European Central Bank, announcing that by October at the latest, they will be releasing their CBDC, the digital euro. And they are doing the launch, a soft launch by December in the UK. And Russia is also bringing in their digital ID mandated wallet and social media network, kind of like WeChat. It's all happening at the same time. And so it just happens that they are then saying they're going to limit what you can eat, because it's not the only place. New York City is unleashing food police to limit residents' consumption in the name of so-called climate justice. And we reported on this 2 years ago, and they are heavily into the development of this as they go towards the 2029 net zero push, which, by the way, the United States is involved in as well in their own way, whether it be through climate or through immigration. They're creating this biometric system, and whether it be through war or whatever false flag, the United States is one of 193 countries that signed on to the United Nations Pact for the Future, which allows them to shut down your bank account if you say negative things about the government, which allows them to control what you can eat and bring in rations. And by the way, speaking of rations, they already have with the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act, the ability to, one, conscript, and two, bring in food rations for soldiers and eventually bring that in for the public as well. And they talk about putting mRNA in the food supply. We also have the UK doing the same thing and talking about this food ration system, and Germany's talking about it as well. There's a reason all this stuff is happening simultaneously. And just another example of how, through technocratic approach, the government will control the food supply. As Breitbart says, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson wants to open city-owned grocery stores, and these would be these stores that are run by the government and, of course, rationed off to you based on, well, your compliance. That is where it's going. It's blatantly obvious. As we reported years ago, Amazon buying up massive industrial land holdings across the U.S., even as it reduces warehouse square footage. What are they planning? They're buying up farmland like Bill Gates as they go after the farms, including in the Netherlands, where they want to get rid of 50% of farms. And it's the second top agricultural exporter country in the world, despite its size. It is devastating what they're doing. And Mark Rutte was a big part of that. He's no longer the leader. Now he's running NATO, and of course is praising Trump because, again, it's all one big club and you ain't in it. Takeover begins. Robots set to outnumber humans at Amazon warehouses. As Elon Musk recently said, AI will take over almost all jobs, the majority of jobs at least, within a few years, and it will destroy humanity. But he's the number one person developing it, and he's supposed to be the hero. And now they're playing this game like, oh, Elon Musk and Trump are fighting against each other. Give me a break. What they're doing right now is setting up the PSYOP. Now, he has X money. He is bringing in on an off-road or on and off ramp for this digital system. He's got X, which of course is being built with the algorithm to create a social credit score and a digital ID system. He's registering it as a bank, and he just sold it to XAI, his own company, for $33 billion. That number is very important, as he wants to put chips in your brain attached to a Pentagon-funded mesh network, and has the Pentagon contracts for this Iron Dome alongside Palunteer. Now, on top of that, we have this massive shift to replace all these workers with AI, and Elon Musk says, "Don't worry, you'll have UBI, Universal Basic Income." Like, oh, great! So the World Economic Forum's agenda, basically to a T, and he's an obvious Trojan horse, and so is Trump, and they are both pushing from different angles this exact same metric. As Trump actually passes, I think, $3.3 trillion in this big, beautiful bill, and it raises the debt ceiling dramatically. I mean, what we're seeing is absolutely obvious to me. We are witnessing the shift into global technocracy. So I want to bring up these articles again. I'm all mixed up on my live editing here, but what we are going to see is that they're one step closer to that realization of the full integration of robots, says Ruben Scriven, research manager at Interact Analysis, a robotic consulting firm. We are in serious danger of this happening very soon. And meanwhile, Elon Musk's X will start publishing community notes written by artificial intelligence agents to increase the speed of its fact-checking product. As I wrote on X at World Alt Media, make sure to go and follow me there. Skynet will soon decide truth and untruth. This is the breaking point into technocratic enslavement. I mean, we are dealing with AI taking over absolutely every facet of life, all attached to websites like X that are quite literally social credit systems. They all started with a super establishment angle and then normalize people to censorship so that they could pull back censorship just slightly and, like his Trojan horse, get everyone off the alternative platforms onto things like X, and then end up being trapped and having all their words used against them in the social credit system. And Peter Thiel of Palunteer and PayPal and all those, who's been very close with Elon for a long time, since I guess Mossad and CIA programmed them. It says AI is the only thing keeping the world from total stagnation. He is saying basically that it's the only way to save the world. This is exactly what one should expect from the people that are trying to destroy the world. And the mainstream alternative media will worship around them at their feet as Peter Thiel returns from Bilderberg Group. Dan Dix of Press for Truth did a great job of confronting him recently, which you guys should definitely check out. Of course, he didn't say anything, but he is involved in Palunteer, which is creating this AI database that Trump just tapped Palunteer for, to create a database on all Americans and full-on surveillance. As Alex Karp, the CEO and founder of Palunteer, says he would like drones to spray fentanyl-laced urine on people that oppose him. Now, they say he's joking. I mean, he is basically running this massive drone system. So it wouldn't surprise me. He's also responsible for the use of these drones against children in Gaza using AI again, utilizing AI. And by the way, Trump did the $500 billion AI deal with Larry Ellison and Sam Altman and the head of Citibank SoftBank, earlier on in, I think, day 2 of his administration, then went to Saudi Arabia and made this massive deal with the Saudi Crown Prince and with the leader of Qatar and Jolani, the proxy Al-Qaeda guy who just took over Syria for Israel, and made this deal alongside Elon Musk, Alex Karp, Sam Altman, Larry Fink of BlackRock, as they take over ports and try to take over not just housing property, but also the supply chain. Again, it's a multi-tiered system to completely control humanity. And of course, many others who were involved in the banking system. And then he comes back and does this big, beautiful bill. And Thomas Massie speaks out against it. So Trump says he needs to be primaried and goes after him big time. And now there's a big fight over it. Thomas Massie's been on our show many times. He's a great guy. Honestly, he's one of the only people I've ever seen in politics that I actually like. Not because I think he's going to fix things in politics. I just like that he's consistent in what he says. But he gets attacked over this. Meanwhile, Trump is raising the debt ceiling like crazy, bringing in AI governance, bringing in the genital mutilation of children within the funding structure of it anyway, within this big, beautiful bill, which is supposed to be so anti-establishment and cut spending. It's increasing spending dramatically. And we're raising the debt ceiling dramatically. And of course, we are bringing in Skynet with this, with the total AI surveillance system and the use of it in militarism and in the monetary system. People don't seem to understand the Trojan horse they're dealing with because they're in a cult and they'll say anything that Trump says is perfect and we need to bow at his feet and believe everything he says. I mean, it's super far left, by the way, what he's doing. But of course, when he does it, it's fine. Because it's a Trojan horse, it's an operation by intelligence agencies because this was planned. Technocracy was planned long ago. And of course, he bows at the feet of Israel as well. So as we see all this stuff come together, coming from my initial point about the starvation in Israel, this is a litmus test for what they are doing next. And as we see, Israel continues to do horrible things, including Israeli settlers are currently attacking the Christian village of Taibe near Ramallah, setting homes on fire and shooting at residents. Typical. Israeli attack on Gaza City Beach Cafe kills dozens, including journalists. Yeah, they've killed more journalists than any country in modern history. Trump predicts Gaza ceasefire within a week as Israel's deadly aid blockade sparks global outrage. So this is a part of the litmus test. And by the way, this ceasefire is complete nonsense, because the ceasefire is to annex Palestine and give the land to Israel, so they could further justify their use of violence in the region and grow in power against the Wahhabis that they created and armed and funded in the first place. It's all part of the same puzzle, my friends. Trump signals Gaza ceasefire possible within a week as civilian deaths draw UN condemnation. Iran's nuclear ambitions persist despite strikes, IAEA warns. Of course, because this was always part of the plan. They didn't actually destroy anything significant. The idea was to perpetuate this for later. The ceasefire is only temporary. And just like it was in Syria, when they then used that to go after Assad days later, claiming there's a chemical attack, which was clearly a false flag. Twice, 2017 and in 2018, and now Jolani runs a place. Iran could restart enriching uranium in a matter of months, UN nuclear chief says. Now, of course, Netanyahu was saying months away from nuclear weapons back in the 90s and weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. So same old script playing out again. Iran bars UN atomic energy chief from its nuclear sites. Okay, they're heating up, they're normalizing the narrative. Then we have the free speech issue, which the ultimate form of censorship will be your mind and your ability to eat and your ability to access money. But RT says U.S. cancels visas of anti-Israeli Army British rap duo Bob Vylan and scandalously chanted death to the IDF at Glastonbury Music Festival. So that they are going after him big time and revoking his visas, and of course looking at hate speech charges, which is kind of strange because he was in Glastonbury. But anyway, Cradle.co says Syria's general security forces implicated in mass killing of Alawites, which I predicted back in 2018 when I went over a CIA document from 1983 called Bringing Arms to Bear in Syria, where I went in detail over the fact that they said they were going to overthrow Assad Sr. at the time by getting the military to come in from Turkey, Lebanon, and Iraq, these militants to come in and take over the country without a shot being fired, overthrow Assad, and then bring in this new Wahhabist faction, which they did with Jolani, and that they would take over the country and go after Sunnis, Alawites, and Christians, which is exactly what's happening. They scripted this out long ago, my friends. So that was, and now Israel basically runs Syria, because HTS, formerly Al-Nusra Front, is a major beneficiary of Israel and got a ton of funding, even though they literally ran Al-Qaeda in the region for a while. Trump says the man that is leading Syria was the head of some tough organizations. He is pretty tough. He is a good guy. The organizations are ISIS and Al-Qaeda, just so you know. So we see the takeover continue. We see the genocide continue. We witness unthinkable tragedies in the region, and of course, all by design. And then you think it's bad there and it's separated from us and it's all the way over there and it's further away from you. Don't worry about it. It's coming to a place near you soon. And as the dominoes fall, they normalize you to the tyranny that we see surrounding us, to the point where we don't even notice it when we become enslaved, because in fact we already are to a great degree, through our phones, through social media, through our banks, through the money that they print, through our the food that we can access, through our dependency in general, which they've pushed us into a multiple eras in a row of weakness, each one getting weaker than the last. And times are going to get tougher. They're going to get worse before they get better. But the entire idea is to push us into this technocratic umbrella with CBDCs attached to digital IDs, with social credit, carbon credits, whatever it might be, depending on the country. But it'll be a global system. Australia is rolling out their system. They're basing the whole world system on this. Remember, this started with China by design. I mean, in the 1910s, it started with the Rockefellers talking to Marxists about creating a technocratic Marxist world order. But moving forward, and FDR pushed this with the Industrial Revolution in the 30s, but like that chapter of it anyway. But if you fast forward to 1948 and the propping up of the communist government in China, and then fast forward to 1972 when Henry Kissinger met with Mao Zedong in order to create an alliance with China, which would prop them up as a monopoly after they were suffering from starvation. And then the Trilateral Commission, the Rockefellers and Zbigniew Brzezinski created this umbrella where they would utilize China as a guinea pig state for technocracy worldwide, which they've become. And they push Sesame slash social credit first, and then they bring in the social or the facial recognition and WeChat and all these digital ID applications. Now Russia is doing that. Now Australia is doing that. Now the UK, now Europe, now the United States, now Canada. They're all doing it. They're testing these digital IDs through Bill Gates in places like Sierra Leone, where you can't get a job, you can't do anything unless you bow to their system and are attached to their digital ID system. You can't have a bank account, you can't drive a car, you can't do anything. And in places like Kenya, where the Ojek people are being starved to death because they have a low carbon credit score, they're doing it in different ways, but all to the same goal. And out of chaos comes order, and that's what they're doing. They're creating order to chaos with the situation, using AI to determine what children can get food as aid in Palestine, according to Israel, as children are starving, as 66 children die. And then they're using that as a litmus as they bring in the exact same system in the United States with AI, facial recognition controlled grocery stores. They already have palm payments, and they already have grocery stores where you have to pay to get in with your credit card to completely surveil you in places like New York. And they have a system where they want to have food police, both in New York City and in the UK, and have pre-crime data, and of course have government-run grocery stores in Chicago. So again, this is very well understood. It's already been designed. It's already in place. Essentially, all they have to do is flick off the switch, and everyone will be on food rations based on their social credit score, based on what they've said on social media, based on what they've purchased with their credit card in the past, with the UN Pact for the Future, which 193 countries signed on to. This is all part of the metric to control humanity. And if you are awake, which I know most people watching are, then that's not enough. You actually have to do something about that. You need to withdraw yourself from the system, not keep voting on it, but that's sitting on your hands. You need to withdraw yourself from the system, not be completely dependent on the banking system, not be completely dependent on grocery stores, not to be completely dependent on the grid, not be completely dependent on water and internet and all these different things that they'll utilize to force people into a desperate system where they beg for help and they are given the so-called help, but that help being total compliance, total surveillance, total enslavement, total control. So as they develop this system, I urge people to understand where we're going and immediately find ways to solve this problem. And that's why I like to give solutions. So again, I urge people to check out heavensharvest.com for long-term storable foods that are non-GMO. There's organic kits, there's heirloom seeds, there's water filtration and storage, there's books on how to get started. Use code WHAM, W-A-M, and you save 5% as well as get free shipping in the United States. I want to put this on the screen there. I want people to understand here is the solution. It's right in front of us. It's in our hands. We just have to go there, click some buttons. You could pay over time. You could pay in gold and silver. You could do these things. Get prepared today while you still can. I urge people to take this seriously. And it's not often you can find as large servings as sizes as you see there at the same time as having organic food. So go and check out heavensharvest.com, code WHAM. Also, check out whambeef.com for 10 plus year shelf life, freeze-dried steak. There's freeze-dried chicken and ground beef as well. Use code WHAMBEEF, W-A-M-B-E-E-F, all one word, and you'll get 20% off on your order. There's 12 servings per bag. This is something that could seriously help you going forward in the face of what is to come. Guaranteed no mRNA jabs, no lab-grown meat, all American beef that's 100% natural. Go and support this company too, because they keep getting put under attack. If you have any issue buying anything, go back to them after, because they spam the site. Certain people, who knows who, are spamming the site to make it go down regularly. So it's not a security risk to you. It's basically just spamming so that it gets overpowered and shuts down so that people can't buy things off of it. So they're over the target, obviously. I urge people to go and check that out today and get prepared. Also, check out our link for wild pastures. You could save the farmers while saving yourself at the same time. Get 20% off your life plus $15 off your first box when you use our link. Of 100% grass-fed and finished beef, pasture-raised pork, pasture-raised chicken, wild-caught seafood, no mRNA, no GMOs, hormones, antibiotics, feedlots, pesticides, or chemicals of any kind, all raised on regenerative family farms in 48 US states, delivered to your door, temperature controlled and customizable as you see fit. Again, use our link. You save money, you save your health, and you save your local farmers, because they source as much as they can from local farms near you to make sure that you get it delivered to your door, temperature controlled and customizable as you see fit. So go and check that out in the description of our video. And of course, evade that CBDC system that they're trying to control you with, that they're trying to put the walls in on you for. Go to firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/. It has to be that exact link. And there you could buy physical gold, silver, platinum, or palladium, hold it in your hands, put it in a vault, put it in an IRA outside of the traditional IRA system, your choice. But there you could schedule an appointment for a free consultation with Mark Gonzalez, a good friend of ours, and a complimentary investors package. He's awake. He knows what he's talking about. That's why I urge people to make sure they're working with him directly. Let him know in the comments of the forum that he found him at World Alternative Media, or WAM, WAM. Very important going forward. We have a whole bunch of links for health, but we're not allowed to mention it in any videos that are posted on YouTube. And I assume I'm going to post this specific one on YouTube. But if you're watching on YouTube, go to Rumble and BitChute. YouTube is not, they banned us for 5 years. They're going to ban us again. I don't even know why they give us back this thing. I think it's actually for machine learning, for the social credit system. So I'm sure it's nefarious. Please stop depending on YouTube for watching content. We're over on Rumble and BitChute at World Alternative Media, and I highly recommend people go and support those sites. Anyway, as I close this off, you could find our health links, by the way, in the links of our videos on Rumble and BitChute. But if you want to help support us, we truly could use any help we can get. We are bankrupt. We're constantly bankrupt. We have been dragged through the mud, including some alternative sites, totally shutting down our ability to reach people. Go and check out gogetfunding.com, Patreon, or Subscribestar. And there you can Patreon and Subscribestar. If you do $4.99 a month or more, you'll get exclusive content, including early access to videos or your ability to send in questions and get personalized video messages. Same with on X at World Alt Media when you subscribe for $5 a month. We appreciate any help we can get. And of course, we have a PayPal address, ancientwonderstelevision@gmail.com. And of course, we have a Bitcoin address that you could scan on the screen here or see in the description in text form. Our address is below. And of course, we have our Cointree link with a bunch of different cryptocurrencies that you could donate in if you please, including privacy coins. We have our Teespring link in the description. I forgot to put it in for a few videos, so it's back. You guys can go check that out below and find merchandise that helps keep us alive while also giving you guys cool things to wear in the street and maybe find other people that are like-minded. Anyway, I appreciate everyone watching. You can find us on Telegram, Rockfin, Band.video, BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, and Brighteon at World Alternative Media. We're on Hive, Steemit, and Vigilante.tv at Josh Sigurdson. We're on the bad guys, TikTok and Instagram, World Alternative Media, Twitter and Getter at World Alt Media, and all the major podcast platforms except for Spotify, where, of course, we are banned. Hit that like button, share on social media, hit the notification bell, and hit subscribe if you have not yet already. And as always, my friends, live freely, live by example, always. That is the idea going forward. That's what I want people to know. I want people to understand. I want people to live by it. This is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.